Hi, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Govs on the Go Alumni Edition, a podcast featuring alumni from the College of Arts and Letters here at Austin Peay State University. My name is Dr. Buzz Hoon. I'm the Dean of the college. I'm also the host of the podcast. And today I have the pleasure of speaking with Tori Felton, who graduated with a degree in visual communication back in 2015. Tori, welcome to the podcast.
Great to be here.
And you look like you could pass as an undergrad student. It can't be 10 years from your graduation.
It doesn't feel, I was just thinking that this afternoon at work. I was like, God, how long has it been? It's been 10 years. Lord.
Well, we're going to talk about your time at Austin Peay, what you remember from that 10-year period of time, and how things have developed in your life. But let's just begin with a life update. Tell everybody what's going on.
Yeah, so right now, I'm taking a break from work right now to speak to you. I just finished working with some Quicksilver products that I'm developing at the moment. Put that on pause, came here, and currently in the process of moving. And I just had a kid recently as well. So
That's terrific.
a lot of big things and a lot of little things.
Yeah, that's terrific. So we're going to talk about all those wonderful blessings that are currently in your life as we develop throughout the program. Let's rewind and take a look back, because you mentioned to me that you are from the Clarksville area, grew up here. Tell us a little bit about what it was like growing up for you, what you remember, and things that happened along the way that helped influence you.
Yeah, so I grew up in Tennessee. I was born in Washington State, moved to Cadiz, Kentucky, when I was about a year and a half, and then when I was 4 until I was 22, I lived in Clarksville. Um, and I so my journey with art especially started when I was probably about middle school.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. I saw somebody doing some drawings and I was like, you know what? I want to do that. So I did. I picked up some how to draw books. That's what Ollie asked
So
for
you
1 year for my birthday.
had you displayed any aptitude or ability before that? You just
No.
had a desire,
Mhm.
and that's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, I was always a little doodler and stuff like that, but like when it came to like actually drawing and thinking of like art, not just like passively making little things, I actively was just like, oh, this can be like an actual thing you do, not just like something to waste time, for lack of better words. And then so I got into that, and then with uh that was like probably when I was like fifth, sixth grade. And then by the time I was like almost done with middle school, my dad, I had gotten a hand-me-down laptop that started with my dad, went to my stepmom, went to my brother, and then eventually came to me. So
That's family for you.
yeah, so it was very, very old, very beat up. And I installed Photoshop on it, and be, just because I wanted to, and I was like, how do I make use of a computer? How do I have the excuse to get on my computer other than just like mindlessly looking at the internet, which really wasn't too much of a thing when I was in middle school, like the internet was a very different place. There was no like social media. Um, And yeah, so I was like, I'm going to learn how to do my little drawings on Photoshop. So I started teaching myself Photoshop at about that time, just by looking up like tutorials and stuff like that on DeviantArt, actually.
Huh.
Was a very big resource for me at the time. And I'm sure many others in my age group. And yeah, that's kind of how it started there. And then as I got into high school, my the I took art my first year in high school, and Miss Elliott, the art teacher there, just she was like, "Yeah, you're doing something with art. I don't know what you're doing, but you're doing something with art." And literally just took me under her wing and always gave me challenges and always just even my best work, she was like, "This is really good. Let's do better. Like, let's do even better."
Cool.
So she always really pushed me. And but I had also previously mentioned another person that helped me. His name was Mr. Biter. He was the he was the former art teacher when I was in middle school, but taught in school suspension. So every morning when I was, because the art teacher that was there, she was nice and she was good, but she had a bunch of other commitments and she didn't really have time to talk to somebody who didn't really know what they were doing when it came to art. Like she was on a bunch of like committees, so she didn't have any spare time. But Mr. Biter, who was previously the art teacher, he just sat in the basement all day of in school suspension. So I would go to in school suspension every morning and
Voluntarily.
voluntarily and just be like, "This is what I did," and held up my art. And he would just be like, "Oh man, he was a very funny guy. He was some things I would do, I'd bring in, and he's like, 'This is trash.'" And
That's
he
great.
was like, "This is how you make it better." And I was like, "All right." I'd come in the next day with a different picture. So he had me drawing a picture once a day, every day, um, all throughout middle school. And that's what I would do every morning. I just go in there, show him my picture. He'd tear it up or say it's good and send me on my way. I'd bring him a new one the next day.
Wow, Pete. How important
Yeah.
is that for your development as a young person to get feedback in what you're doing? Because positive or negative, you still need to know where you are in the world with what you're producing.
Yeah, it gave me very thick skin from an early age. Like I nothing I make or create is precious at all. Because I may love something that I've made and I'll save it for myself off to the side, especially if like a client hates it. And that's no big deal because somebody else is going to like it.
Yeah.
Like it's, like I've gotten to the point with design, especially that nothing I make is objectively bad. It's not somebody's taste. So I throw it in a folder and I call it my recycling bin. And just, find a later date. And sure enough, yeah, usually another client is like, "Oh my God, that's so amazing." I'm like, "I know."
So, did you know in high school that you wanted to go into graphic design, that you wanted to be an artist? Did you, or were there just other things that you could have gone into?
So there were other things that I could have gone into. My technical drawing skill was very good. I was thinking about getting, there's a lot of different paths I could have gone into. I wanted to do fine art. Like that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to go and become a fine artist or maybe like some sort of like art therapy or something along those lines, with getting like some sort of medical background. But my stepmother actually and then I was just like, you know what? No, I just want to do fine art. I'm just going to become an artist. Like that's totally a normal thing that everybody can do. And my stepmother actually was the one who was just like, do graphic design. And I was like, no, I don't want to. And she's like, do graphic design because if you do graphic design, if you do the bare minimum of graphic design to let that be your degree, you can still become an artist.
Right.
Like, and if you don't, you have a technical skill to fall back onto to start a career and get a job. She was right.
Have you told her that?
She was right.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely. Definitely. Like I told her that like a couple years of after living in New York City and like yeah, like cuz like I still do art. Like I still do art,
Hmm.
but now I do art for fun. And it's like it's relaxing. It's not stressful. It's not I'm not having to call a bunch of galleries. I don't have to do so much
Right.
um that you have to do when you become an artist. Because I have friends that do art and are artists, and I'm not that kind of person.
Well, that's good to know about the way you are. That's good to know.
Yeah, yeah,
So, when you came to Austin P, was the desire then you knew you were going to study art?
yeah. So I um yeah, my advisor at the time used to call me the superlative queen, because I literally took the bare minimum to graduate as a visual communications major. Absolute bare minimum. The rest of it was all superlatives. It was all art courses. It was painting. It was this. It was that. And he was just like, "Why didn't you just do fine art?" And I was just like, "Because I want a job."
So, what are your early
Yeah.
memories from being here?
My early memories. One of my favorite ones was, the initial shock of no professor wants to be called by their last name unless they teach art history, which respect. Um, that's not your, but you don't want to be buddy buddy with somebody teaching you art history. You need somebody who's like, I have a doctorate, you know?
That's right.
Um, and like mad respect there. That was, the first like, okay, I think I might like art school a little bit. Everybody's like, yeah, call me Barry, call me Cindy, call me this, call me that. And I'm like, okay, yeah, okay, deal with that. I do remember going into like my first drawing classes, and I kind of had a little bit of an attitude because I was already really good at drawing. I had no doubt about it. And, you go around the class, you see where everybody else is at. And I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. I can slack off because I'm doing, sorry, my cat just jumped in my lap.
Not the
Um,
first time that's happened on a podcast.
no, no. Um, and I remember having a moment of my drawing classes slacking off doing this and then cranking out the entire still life at the end. And one of the professors, he was an adjunct and he was substituting for my actual professor. I don't know if knew Dr. Deere.
Sure. Jim Deere?
Um, yeah, yeah. He was my drawing one teacher, but he ended up having, I think, a shoulder surgery and wasn't able to teach for a few months afterwards. So I had Brad Reagan and I think it was Jesse Shaw. Um, they were substituting for him, and oh, Brad avoided me. He was just like, "Oh, this kid's got a bad attitude. Like, I don't." He's like, "I don't like you," and because I was obviously just like kind of slacking off in my own little world. And then he finally, at the very end of class, comes by and looks at my still life, and he immediately goes, "Oh shit!" And I was like, "That's right, that's right, that was me. There's a reason why I was slacking off." And I eventually got my proverbial stuff together. But I kind of had a little bit of an attitude those first couple of years. I feel like some people do.
Yeah. But along the way, I'm sure you met some good friends, other students in the program.
Yes, so many, so many. I that was another thing that did strike me about Austin P is that I immediately I immediately sought out the people who were smokers, because all the smokers were such good artists. They were the ones that were all stressed out and staying until like 2 a.m., hiding from the janitors so they didn't get kicked out so they could keep working on their paintings.
Mhm.
Like I was like, these are I like these people. And even if like they weren't smoking, they were hanging out with the smokers because that was just like the group. So oh my God, sorry, let me put this kid down. Um whoop, sorry about that.
That's all right.
Um But yeah, so but the one thing that did strike me with Austin Peay is that like it was very easy to make friends. It was very easy to make friends if you were in art. And even if you weren't in art, like several people in our group, a group of friends was they weren't strictly like they had taken like a photography class or something like that. Or they were just communications majors, like working like to eventually become like writers for newspapers and stuff like that. And yeah, we all bounced ideas off of each other. It was a very nice melding of the brains, for sure. I was very impressed with how just like the environment that the teachers set up for the students was very warm and inviting, and it wasn't like it was not cutthroat. Like nobody was there to be better than anybody else. Everybody was there to become better, with everyone else.
Yeah.
They're like criticism was not, it was not accepted unless it was constructive. Like I, the only time I'd ever heard of anybody just like totally getting criticized in like such a hard way was there was this great story about the painting teacher Suda Lee. I love Suda. I met him before I took his class. I had done modeling for the I'd done nude modeling for the arts and everything else like that. So I met him through that. And there was this great story about him throwing a student's artwork out the window. And people were terrified of Suda Lee because he was so strict and he was a man of very, very like few words, and like he was just a hard guy, before you get to know him. And I just always heard students talking about, oh, he threw somebody's painting out the window, like he's such a critic, blah, 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 blah. And then I later found out the reason why he threw that student's painting out the window was not because it was bad. It was because the student was talking trash about everybody else's paintings. His was really good. He was a very good artist. And so Suda threw his painting out the window and said, look, now it's trash like everybody else's.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, okay, yeah, respect. Major respect there. And yeah, like it's a very like getting to know Suda Lee a little bit better. I was like, yeah, that's yeah, it's exactly something he would do.
So you said one of your favorite memories involved some of your friends and one of your sculptures.
Yes.
Okay.
So I think I can't remember the exact name of the class, but it was like 3D elements or like elements of 3D design or something like that. It's like a basic class that you take. And I had the professor Warren Green, and Warren Green was just, he was an adjunct professor who was very just down to earth. He kind of let us go wild and crazy. He just gave us vague prompts and was like, run with it. And on one of these prompts, I did a tape sculpture of my best friend, Kaylee, who is also, she is actually an artist. And she graduated, I think, the year after I did. We started together, but I think she graduated either the year before or the year after I did. And so to make this tape sculpture of her, I literally just taped her in clear tape all the way, and used bandage scissors to get her out. So, and I did it in pieces. So it wasn't like she was like stuck in tape the whole time. So I did her torso
Okay.
one day, I did her waist down another day. And on the day that I was doing her torso, because I wanted her in like a certain position, her arm was staying straight for probably about an hour, hour and a half. And by the time I finally got her cut out enough for her to like run away, she ran away to go outside and smoke a cigarette. So I'm chasing her through the hallways with scissors, bandage scissors. So, they're safe.
You weren't really running with scissors.
I was really running with scissors trying to get my friend out. And she was like, I gotta go. I gotta go. I gotta go outside. I need some fresh air. Like, I can't believe we're still doing this.
Okay.
Um, but that was a very fun sculpture that hung in my old house in Clarksville for a very long until I moved. It was one of my favorite pieces.
So you also mentioned that an impactful part of your education was doing the internship, and please, can you tell, especially students, why that was important for you?
Yeah, so this ended up being one of the most important things. This is what got me to New York City, actually. I I don't know if this is still what it is, but for me to have graduated with my design degree, I needed to have an internship. Sounds easy, right? I could not get one. I could not get one in Clarksville in time for graduation. They were like, "Oh, well, next year we'll have a spot for you." And or I just had a really hard time finding one that worked for me. And then a friend of a friend is a fashion photographer here in New York City, and he needed an intern for the summer. And I interviewed, and he was like, "Yep, you seem great. Can you find a place to live? Like, can you make this work?" And I said, "Sure, yeah, sure, why not?" And
Confidently, boldly.
yep, I said, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And again, friend of a friend had a place in Astoria that was good for 3 months that I needed, and so I I rented this tiny little bedroom in Astoria for 3 months, and I literally moved here with a suitcase and installed a hammock in the bedroom and slept in a hammock in the middle of a New York City summer, which I don't know if you know anything about that, but there are no AC units in any of these buildings unless you go get one. And boy, I'm glad I slept in a hammock because a bed would have been way too.
Wow. That's going to be a great story for your kids when you get older.
I know. My poor kid is just going to be like, "You were insane." I was like, "Yes, and I still am. Don't forget."
So that got you, and that made you interested in relocating eventually to New York, which after
Yeah.
graduation, your first, tell us about your first job because before you got to New York, you had a first job.
Yes, yeah. So shortly after graduating, I got a graphic design job with this company called Big Frog T-shirts. They were based in Franklin at the time. Um, and then they opened up a location in Nashville, which they made me the manager of. And I worked there for only for a year and a half or so before I was talking with a roommate that I had in Nashville. And I was just like, "Man, I feel like I'm at a dead end job," which I loved that job. It was really fun, but it was a very much an entry level job for me. And I was like, I feel like there's something more I could be doing right now because I'm just making custom t-shirts for people, which is very fun. But I was like, I'm one of the, I need a challenge. I need
Yeah.
something that pushes my brain a little bit more. And like, I like solving puzzles. I love solving problems. So something that gives me a little bit more like more anxiety is actually more appealing to
Well,
me.
sometimes
Uh,
that's the fuel.
Yeah, yeah. It keeps me on schedule. And so I was talking with a roommate and she's like, mentally, I don't think you've ever left New York City. And I was like, you're right. You're absolutely right. So I found two random girls in Nashville that were moving to New York City and they were talking about wanting a third roommate. And I was just like, sign me up. I just moved with them.
You didn't have a
And
job?
nope, nope, didn't have a
Wow.
job. But that's how it was when I got the internship in New York City too, is I needed an actual job because it was an unpaid internship. But I knew how fast and how easy it is to find work in New York City. And yeah, within the first week, I had a job. I had a job working as a paid intern in a print shop. Um, and that was also a photo studio. So I was like, okay, I've already done work like this before. And then I got my first graphic design job in the city as a junior graphic designer for Blanky Tales. And that allowed me to, which I did everything. I did their socials, I did their packaging, I did photography, I did the whole nine yards because they were a startup, and that's just kind of what you do in startups. Like you wear 14 different hats.
Yeah, sure.
Um, and then that got me my first job with the European Home as a packaging designer. Which I then left to be the creative director for Blanky Tales until she ended up selling the company. And then I was like, you know what? I'm ready to start a family. I don't want to be a creative director right now. It's too much responsibility. So I just decided to take a role step back and become a senior graphic packaging designer at where I'm at right now with M&S Brands, which has been so less stress, so much less stress. So sometimes, you got to dial it back a little.
Sure. I think you talked about an interesting story that in your career that involved the fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you
Yeah.
tell me about that?
So Toy Fair, it's not so much this anymore, but in 2017, when I first started working for Blanky Tales, it was huge. It was huge. And I was working with a company that really made a huge splash in Toy Fair. And what Toy Fair is, it's all of these toy manufacturers show up in one place at a convention center, and it's where people who are suppliers for like Walmart and all these like Big Lots, big box stores will come and buy your products. Like you had all the big names in toys there. Like you had Play School, you have the Beanie Babies, the TY Beanie Babies
Yeah.
people. They have their own thing. Melissa and Doug, like just any toy brand you can think of, they have a booth there. And that was such like an eye-opening, like, oh, toy design is a real, like, I just kind of dipped my toe. I just started, like, the whole reason why I'd gotten hired with Blanky Tales was to prepare for Toy Fair. And yeah, going there and being able to explore all the different booths, all the different people and everything else like that was just so eye-opening for me. And just being like, wow, this is a real career path for me. This is a real thing that I think I really like doing. So yeah, I was like, this isn't just some like weird Craigslist job that I got. This is a real start to a career for me. So
Yeah. Well, I think, as you mentioned earlier about your enjoyment about solving problems, and I'm sure that these companies have said to you, "Here's our product. We need to sell it, and we need
Mhm.
you to come up with the best way to help us bring attention to that." And that's probably
Yeah,
your solution. You're the solution to that.
yeah, yeah. That it's I've never been accused of not being creative enough. So yeah, no, that is the main thing when it comes to packaging design. It is. it is, how do you sell this? How do you make this as appealing as possible? Um, who's your customer? Who's your target audience? Who are you trying to sell this to? I make the joke that I make very, very fancy trash because, like, what do you do with packaging? You throw it away, right? You're
That's
done
right.
with it. You recycle it. Sorry, you recycle it if you're responsible. Um, but it's something that's very necessary, because you just can't walk into a store and have the product out and not not be able to be like, but what is it? What does it do? Like, there's
Yeah.
been a couple of toys that I've been given. One of my favorite ones actually was a projector. And it was a projector that you could hold. It was like about like this big, or well, more like this big. Uh, it was a square. It looked like a giant flashlight that had a handle on it. And you could draw on the front of it with these markers that it came with and project your drawings basically. And I loved this toy. I was like, this is amazing. And they're like, we just don't know how to package it. So I did this whole like glow in the dark theme with it. And it's like one of our best selling products right now. Just because like I figured out how to sell it.
Huh. Well, it makes me
Yeah.
think that real toy collectors want to have the toys actually in the package. It
Yeah.
increases the value. And have you ever thought about that you may have made something that somebody 20, 30 years down the road is going to say, that was magnificent art.
I hope so. I hope so. That would be amazing. But I'm not, I'm just having fun with
Yeah.
it.
So I'm sure you have had opportunities for reflection about your own personal growth and over the 10 years. What do you think is the biggest thing you've learned about yourself as an artist, yourself as somebody that's contributing to the graphic design world, and how have you grown? What's the biggest revelation that you've come across?
Yeah. So the biggest revelation sorry, I'm not
That's
pronouncing this right now. But I think one of the biggest things that has come to me is like, you don't always have to reinvent the wheel every time you have a problem. Sometimes the easiest solution is the best solution.
Ah,
You don't always have to, like, it's always good to be innovative. It's always good to be looking at other solutions and everything else like that. But sometimes you can overwork something and it doesn't come out great. And then just taking everything away and leaving it to be basic, it's like, oh, actually, that's all it needs to be. That's all it needs to be. I think that's been one of my biggest like aha moments was that. And that's actually came very recently because I used to always put pressure on myself to be like, I gotta be, I gotta be coming up with the new ideas. I've gotta be on top of everything. And I still do this, but not as feverishly as I used to. I still go to stores and I go see what other people are doing. Um, and sometimes I see things and I'm like, that looks great. That looks great. Wow. But I also see things that I'm just like, you know what? Yeah, all you needed was a card. That's all I needed.
hmm.
Card, Swift tag, gone, done. It looks great because sometimes you just want the product to show. It doesn't always have to be in a box.
Okay, that's good. One of the last questions we always ask people is what kind of recommendations you have for students that may be in the similar path. What kind of advice do you have?
Biggest advice that I have is make friends. Like, I all of the opportunities and all of like the circumstances that have got me to where I am today is because I made friends. And it's because I had friends. my internship, I got that internship from a coworker, technically, that I became really good friends with. Her now husband's best friend is a fashion photographer in New York City, and that's how we connected. Um, where I'm living right now, where I'm moving to in a little bit, I got through a friend. The job that I found right now, I got because I had a really good reference from a friend. And like your the community that you build around you is going to keep you going in more ways than just your career, but also for your career. And it seems like kind of like a no-brainer, like, yeah, duh, but really, like everybody that you're in class with, like make friends with them.
Yeah.
Like go hang out, go to the tap room and have some beers afterwards. Like you don't have to be by yourself, sort of thing. You don't have to be like I don't know. That's like the biggest thing. And the people I've seen do the best things are the ones that have socialized in real life, who socialize in real life, and not just chronically online, which don't there's totally a niche for being online all the time. Believe me, I think we all are online all the time.
As we speak
um
online.
exactly. Like it's not to vilify that, but there's something just very important about being on, being in person and just making connections with your friends and not being afraid to say like, hey, I have a problem. um and you'll be amazed at who has solutions for you. um like it's amazing. Like, don't be afraid to be a little weird, like,
Yeah.
I don't think anybody else has this problem, maybe it's just me. And then 10 people's hands go up in your friend group and they're like, actually, I have this problem too. And you're like, oh wow, okay. That's cool.
I'm not alone.
Yeah, you're not alone. Yeah. I think that's like one of my biggest words of advice. Like, make friends. You'll have them for the rest of your life if you're lucky. Like my friend Kaylee, she's an amazing artist. She's my best friend. She lived with us for a little bit, when I made her move to New York City for a little bit. Um, and I met her. Well, I actually knew her in high school, but we became friends when we were at Austin Peay together. I'm still friends with so many people from Austin Peay. Like my friend Josh, he was Josh Evans then. Now Josh Evans Tez left now, after he married, and he's an amazing artist. He's based in Washington, DC, outside of DC now. And then my friend Zach Feltz, he works for the Frisk. He graduated like the year before I did, and he's amazing at what he does. And met him through Austin Peay. He's doing amazing things. It just My friend Sophia, she graduated a couple years after I did. She teaches art for a high school, I think, right now. But she also makes her own art still, and I want to buy all of her art. It's so awesome. Um, and like I hope I can be their connection one day too,
Yeah.
because we're all still friends.
Well, these are all people I should have on the podcast as well.
Yes, they're amazing.
Well, you are as well, and it's hard to believe that I have to call you a senior a designer because you are just a 10-year alum of Austin Peay. We're very proud of you, and hopefully, if you make it back to Clarksville with your family, please look me up, and so we don't have to do this online. We can do this in person as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. And thanks for all of our listeners and viewers for checking out the podcast. And please continue to do so as we profile some of the outstanding alumni we have here in the College of Arts and Letters at Austin Peay State University. So until next time, stay safe, Take care and God bless.